right, we are ready to go with our next step in the book of Joshua. And I want you to remember the theme verse. It has 3 words ahead of what I've got here, but it just says God commanded. Anyway, be strong and of good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. Now, we want to do just a little review before we get into our next study. Israel was about to face giants and chariots, and they were about to confront armies that were protected by great strong walls. But God's message to them was, be strong and of good courage. However, that message, as God expounded on it a little bit, was be strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law. It wasn't a worry about the giants and the walls, wasn't a worry about the chariots, even the horses of the chariots. There was no worry there. The worry was that they would not obey the law. Along with that, God assured Joshua that there shall not any man be able to stand before thee. Now, that was God's message to Joshua to assure him that that God was going to take care of the other things. So, I ask, when you're facing a giant, maybe your finances, it may be a position in your job that you feel like you're compromising your Christian position to move into that. When you're facing a giant, can you trust that God will stand there with you and will handle the giant? Ephesians chapter 6 was our instruction about spiritual warfare. We studied that last time. God's message to us is about our warfare. Remember, 1 Corinthians 10:11. I hope you're memorizing this. We're hitting it each time we study because this is the reason we're studying the book of Joshua. Now, all these things happened unto them for ensamples or examples. Now, all these things happened unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. We're told over in 1 John chapter 2 and verse 16 that our giants, yes, they're our giants. Our giants are lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. We think of Israel as being sophisticated and think of the enemy as being bumpkins, but that's not true. Remember, Israel had spent 400 years in slavery and 40 years as beggars and as welfare recipients in the desert. Welfare, God feeding them. Anyway, the enemy had built cities and were productive in their land, and they had weapons to handle any threats that might come. In our last study, we went through 3 things. We went through the program, the promise, we went through the plan, the promise, and the program. But we quit in the middle of the program. So we're going to continue with the program in this study. We're going to back up and show a little of the history that led up to these things. But God has done the instruction up to this point, and now he's saying, now is the time for you to show your faith. Joshua got to stop wandering in the desert and move on into the land. And we must understand that war was not a new thing for Joshua. This is not new stuff. We need to remember what it is that he had gone through. So we're going to go back and see the preparation that God gave Israel and Joshua. God progressively has made himself known to Israel, and he's progressively made himself known to us. That's why we need to go back and read this Old Testament. It's a progressive revelation of God, but he had them prepared. We're going to go back and see some of that preparation, and we're going to see how God progressively made himself known. To get into this, I had to do some preparation too. You know, Joshua's about to go into battle. So I had to have a battle of my own just to prepare for this. And here you see my battle. Let me describe this, and we'll back up and see the picture again. This was preparation before the previous time that I taught the book of Joshua to another group. Anyway, my grandson and I had a shaving cream battle. Now, I won that battle, and you might wonder about that as you look at the picture, but you just ask him. He'll tell you I won. I doubt it. Pride of life. No way. He'll never say he lost. Anyway, there we are. Pride of life. Maybe I would never tell you I lost. Anyway, there we are, preparing for battle. Outline of what we're going to study in this section is get ready. Then we're going to talk about Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. And then we're going to ask the question, are you ready? And that you is to Joshua and Israel, and it's also to you personally. First verse of our study here is Joshua 1, verse 10. It says, Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the host and command the people, saying, Prepare you victuals, for within 3 days ye shall pass over Jordan, to go into possess the land which the Lord your God giveth you to possess it. This is a 3-day warning. After that, no more time to cook. I'm not sure whether God suspended his one day's worth of manna that you can pick up for their preparation. I don't know what he did there. But remember, they had animals. They could prepare them, cook some of them. If it were me, though, I would have been practicing my swordsmanship. I forget who's really doing the battle. I would have been reaching up, because I know those giants are tall, reaching up with the sword. But I forget who's doing the battle. And Joshua told them, go prepare food. They're headed to war with those giants. I don't know why they gave 3 days. Some theologians believe that this is a picture of the resurrection. I can't quite get there with my interpretation, but maybe so. Anyway, if you listen to enough preachers, you will hear that interpretation. So I thought I'd better give it to you. Verse 12, first part of verse 12 says, And to the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to half the tribe of Manasseh. Now I ask you, who are these people, friend or foe? Most of you sharp Bible students already know who they are, but I'm going to tell you who they are. First of all, the Jews claim that they have 3 fathers and 4 mothers. Funny situation. But remember, Abraham, father 1, married Sarah. Isaac, father 2, married Rebekah. And Jacob married 2 ladies. He married Leah and Rachel. And remember that Jacob just wanted to marry Rachel. She was the pretty one. But the father-in-law hid Rachel and slipped the older, uglier daughter into the marriage tent. It's too dark for Jacob to see who he was with. So Jacob, whose name again was changed to Israel, married both of them. Anyway, they, in a household where you got two women like this, there's got to be competition going on. And, I don't know that there's got to be, but there was in this family. There was competition to see who could give Jacob children. Anyway, here we go with showing how the children thing broke out. Leah got pregnant fairly soon, and she had 6 children here. Rachel just couldn't get pregnant. But she's the one that Jacob really loved. She was the beautiful one. I don't know that's the reason he loved her, but anyway, she just couldn't have children. So she gave her maid, Bilhah, to Jacob. And this was not an unusual practice in that day and time. If a woman couldn't have children, very often she would give her maid to have children for her, and they would be considered as the children of the one who was not the maid, the children of the wife. Anyway, she bore 2 children for Rachel and Jacob. And later in life, even before that, Leah saw what Rachel was doing, and jealousy. She gave her maid to Jacob also. She had 6 kids of her own, but she gave her maid to Jacob, and she had that maid had 2 children, just like Bilhah did. But after these were born, Rachel got pregnant. She got pregnant and bore the son Joseph. Now, Joseph was considered the son in the old age of Jacob, and he favored the one that was there from Rachel. But the maids are sometimes called Jacob's concubines, other times they're called his wives. But their mothers the Jews considered the mothers to be Leah and Rachel. But you know the story of Jacob. I'm going to tell you a little bit of it anyway. We're going to read just a few verses relative to that. Genesis chapter 37, verse 1 says, Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Verse 2, these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, that's the maid, the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, again, the maid, his father's wives. They're called wives here. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Joseph was a little tattletale. Now, maybe they should have been told on, but anyway, they hated Joseph for that. Verse 3, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. Now, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Verse 4, then the brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren. They hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. His little brother, and he's being picked on. Anyway, you saw in the list, and I'll back up. You saw in the list there, Reuben. Let me see if I can get my error here. Oops. Sometimes it works. Well, I'll have to skip that. Sometimes it works to give me an error. But you see there in the first son of Leah and the first son of Zilpah were Reuben and Gad. Now, back to where we were. You see Reuben and Gad, but who's Manasseh? Jacob blessed both of the sons of Joseph. His sons are Ephraim and Manasseh. So these are the sons of Joseph. Jacob blessed his 12 sons, and he blessed also Ephraim and Manasseh. And therefore we have the division of the 12 lands, but if we count all those, you'll see that there are 13 tribes. But only 12 of them are going to inherit land. Now, it wasn't that the other did bad. The tribe that didn't get the land was the tribe of Levi. He inherited no land. The sons of Levi were to be the priest and the Levites, Levi being Levites. Levites were the ones who worked in the temple or tabernacle and did the various duties that were required there. But they were to have a house and a small family garden in the suburbs, but they were not to have land like the other brothers had. Remember, Moses was a Levite. Anyway, Joseph was Daddy's pet. At that time, he was the only son of Rachel. Benjamin hadn't been born. Benjamin was born later, after Joseph was not around. But he made Joseph a coat of many colors. Back to verse 3 there in Genesis 37. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. Now, there's a minor deal with this coat of many colors. The Hebrew word there is pasim, which means stripes. Doesn't mean colors. It means stripes. Now, I had a cute little Hebrew teacher, and I mean that literally. We were in a room that was evidently supposed to be used for chemistry instruction, and it had one of those tall desk-type things that was up there for the professor. It had a sink at one end, and it was rather tall. Anyway, she came to about shoulder height up to the top of that desk, and that little lady was an actress. I mean, she was an actress, and so her little stature, but she really could act out things. But there was competition in the family. And it seems like I'm not talking about competition between the ladies. I'm talking about competition between the boys. That always seems to be something with boys in a family. You're not supposed to have two wives in the family, so that competition doesn't count. Well, it was tough there. But anyway, my brother and I always competed. I raised two boys, and my youngest one, he was a competitor, and he still is. He believes he's top of everything. Well, I won't comment further than that. Anyway, boys never seem to grow out of it. That's why I had that shaving cream battle, even with a grandson. Anyway, I'm sure that, again, you know the story of Joseph, but Joseph had dreams. And those dreams indicated that the brothers and the parents were going to bow down to him. You have the younger one, the youngest one at the time, saying that all of you are going to bow down to me. Now, if you call that pride of life, okay, but God gave him those dreams. Now, he was either unwise or vindictive to tell those dreams to his brothers, And I'm going to believe that he was kind of unwise because of his youth. I won't put the vindictive thing on him. But Joseph's brothers were not going to bear down to that brat. He was Daddy's favorite, and we're not going to do any such thing as bowing down to him. And the dad may make them do that. So they decided they were going to kill him. He's out in the field away from Daddy. But finally, they convinced each other to sell him into slavery. So they did that. And he went down into Egypt as a slave. And he got accused by the slave owner's wife of attempting to rape her. Now, she was the one that was pushing things, and Joseph was totally innocent and ran away from her. But she grabbed his coat or his robe or whatever you call it, and she had that as evidence that he was trying to rape her. Anyway, Joseph was put in jail and spent many years there. Totally unfair, just unfair. But God used it. God used it to get him introduced to Pharaoh. Anyway, as part of the family, he couldn't participate in the family. I don't know what I've got these slides here for. Let's go to verse 21, or chapter 21 of the book of Numbers. And I want us to look at some of the history before before Joshua is telling the people to get ready to go into the land. There was some preparation. Verse 1, chapter 21 of Numbers. And when King Arad the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. Now, remember, these are brothers and cousins and cousinettes and whatever, but he took some of them prisoner. It's a bad thing to do. Israel hated him. So Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, If thou wilt indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. Listen to this. I will utterly destroy their cities. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel, and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And he called the name of the place Hormah. Now, I looked to see where Hormah was on the map, and a position was given that didn't make sense to me, and the article there admitted that they weren't sure where Hormah was, so I won't try to pretend I know where it is. But in the book of Numbers, who was the leader? Who was God's leader of the people of Israel? They were still under Moses. So Moses went to war here, and they utterly destroyed the people that they were fighting. Let's read some more. Stay still in Numbers 21, but skip on down to verse 21. And Israel sent messengers unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, now this is a totally different situation. They've already conquered that group of Canaanites. That's done. It's over with. Now they're wanting to proceed toward the land. They're on the king's highway. And Israel sent messengers unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, Let me pass through thy land. We will not turn into the fields or into the vineyards. We will not drink the waters of the wells. but we will go along by the king's highway until we be past thy borders. And Sihon would not suffer, or would not allow, Israel to pass through his borders. But Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel unto the wilderness, and he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. Verse 24, and Israel smote him with the edge of the sword and possessed, listen to that, and possessed his land from Arnon, that's a river at the southern part of this particular king's land, from Arnon unto Jabbok, even unto the children of Ammon. That's another border that they're not going to cross. They didn't need to cross there. For the border of the children of Ammon was strong. And Israel took all of the cities, and Israel dwelt in all of the cities of the Amorites in Heshbon, and in all of the villages thereof. Now they went to war against this king, and the king lost. Now, they didn't start the war, the king did. He lost, and they totally destroyed all of his people. We'll see more about that in another verse here from Deuteronomy. But this is the second time Moses chose for his people to go to war. He didn't start it, but he chose to go to war and to rule the land. He took it over. He took it over, and it says they settled in that land. That's on the eastern side of the Jordan River. Skip on down to verse 33 in Numbers 21. And they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, and he and all his people and to the battle at Edrei. And the Lord said unto Moses, fear him not, for I have delivered him into thy hands, and all his people and his land, and thou shalt do to him as thou didst to Sihon, that's the previous king, the king of the Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. So he wiped them out, took over their cities, took over their land. Verse 35, so they smote him and his sons and all his people until there was none left him alive, and they possessed his land. None left him alive. They wiped them out totally. So Moses has encountered three enemies, and they have wiped them out. Wiped out, there were none left of them. They took their captives back, and all before Israel crossed the Jordan River with Joshua. All of this was before that. God revealed himself and revealed how he handled battles. They had experience with God, with him leading them into battle. Now, I have to tell you that this particular area here is part of what is known as the Fertile Crescent. The two cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were probably in that area. If you read the story of Lot and Abraham separating, you see that the land was very fertile, very green. Anyway, in Deuteronomy, we have a review of the fighting under Moses. And we'll read about the middle one, Sihon, and it's brutal. We got to get ready for this brutal battle that we're going into with Joshua. Folks, there are those that minimize what they think of hell. They think it will be less or be more tolerable than most people think of hell. Folks, God didn't tolerate any of these people as Jacob was, or Israel was going through the land there. He didn't tolerate any of these people. Now, we haven't seen Joshua go in and how he does things, but we certainly have seen what Moses did. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 2, verses 33 and 34. And the Lord our God delivered him before us, this is Sihon, and we smote him and his sons and all his people, and we took all his cities that at that time, and utterly destroyed the men and women and the little children, the little ones, of every city, and left none to remain. Totally wiped them out. That's what God told them to do. 2.5 tribes went and asked Moses if they could occupy that land that they had captured. Moses went to God and got approval. You know, there's a lot of that land, and God had already told them they could have that land all the way over to the Euphrates. They never took all that. They just took this little sliver of land that along the King's Highway. Anyway, 2.5 tribes, Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. Manasseh must have been a big family because they took a lot of land. Anyway, they got God to approve them living in that land, but they had to promise that they were going to send their men of war across Jordan to fight with Joshua and the rest of the people of Israel. And just to show you here, and I hope I can get my arrow to work. But I can't seem to get it to work. Anyway, I was wanting to point out, I'm still trying. Well, you can see here this area that's kind of a light greenish down here at the bottom of the map. That is the area that Reuben occupied. Then coming up to the kind of pink area, that's the area where Gad occupied. And coming on up top to the brighter green area, this is where Manasseh occupied. And you see they took over all of the cities and the land in these areas here. And they destroyed all of the people that lived there. And they occupied the cities. It's nice to go in. You got your house already? Oh, that's nice. But anyway, right about, this is the Dead Sea here. I'm still trying to get that arrow to work. It's supposed to work. Well, it just doesn't want to work. Anyway, this Dead Sea area here, this is where they were going to cross to go into the Promised Land. So, remember that Moses disqualified himself by smacking the rock twice, and so God told him he's not going to be able to go into the land. But God took him up on a mountain. Now, I got another picture here, and again, I wish I could get my arrow to function, but it just doesn't want to do it. Anyway, what we see here is that there above the Dead Sea, the big thing of water there is the Dead Sea, And if you can see it, the name Reuben is right beside it. And there between Reuben and Gad is where they're going to cross the land. And you can see that there are mountains here. Well, Moses was taken up one of those mountains to look over into the land, to gaze at all of what he had worked for, was to get the people of Israel into that land. Anyway, God honored him, gave him the grace to at least look at that land. The people mourned for Moses for 30 days after he died. Joshua was told that he was dead. We don't know where he was buried because God took care of it. But we need to get back to the book of Joshua. Joshua spoke on the east side of Jordan for them to get ready. And then he spoke specifically to those three tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, saying, you got to send your guys with us. So, we saw that in verse 12 of chapter 1, says, and the Reubenites and the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh spake Joshua, saying, remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God hath given you rest, and hath given you this land. Verse 14, your wives and your little ones and your cattle shall remain in the land, that is on the eastern side of Jordan, shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side of Jordan, that's before they crossed, but ye shall pass over before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them. So Joshua is giving the orders there as to what's to happen. God commanded in Joshua 1 verse 2 for Joshua to arise and go across Jordan. And Joshua told the people, get ready. Are you ready? Joshua told the people, get ready. We are soon to be at that boundary between Jordan, or between the west bank of the east bank of Jordan over into the west bank of Jordan. Now, we also, us, not them, we also are soon to be at a boundary. Jesus is coming back. Say that with me. Jesus is coming back. Say it. Jesus is coming back. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 52 and following says, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So, when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory, in victory. Are you ready? Are you ready? Jesus is coming back. Folks, Joshua is getting his people ready. We, the church, need to be ready to go to be with Jesus. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 11, we read that earlier. It says, now all these things happened unto them, happened unto Joshua, happened unto Moses, happened under David, happened under Daniel, happened under all the Old Testament characters. Now all these things happened unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Folks, the end of the world is coming. Could be any day now. The purpose of the book of Joshua. What is the purpose of the book of Joshua? We gave it a name last time. It's the daily walk. Some get living the daily walk confused with salvation. Salvation is a one-time event. It gets you into the kingdom. It gets you into the hand of Jesus. It gets you into the hand of God the Father. But daily living is the basis for the giving of rewards. Moses missed some of the reward. He didn't get to go into the promised land. This is an example for us to see. He had great works, but he missed out on some of the promises. He missed the important one. Jesus is coming. Are you ready? Salvation, one-time event, that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart, the innermost being of man, for with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. But the daily walk is what Joshua is talking about. We saw that in verse 7. Be strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law. Now, I see churches turning to the right hand and to the left hand away from what God said to do. I see Christians turning from the right hand to the left hand, turning away from what God said to do. Folks, Joshua was told not to turn to the right or to the left away from his law. And we're not under the law, we're under grace, but we've still got the commands of Jesus. We're to look like Christ. We're to share Christ with the world. Observe to do according to all the law. Observe to do according to all that grace gives you. It doesn't give you the freedom to sin. Listen to that. It doesn't give you the freedom to sin. Our walk needs to be Christ-like. Let's close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the grace that you've given us. We thank you for the fact that we know that we're in the hand of Jesus. We're in the hand of the Father. Lord, we just look forward to being there with you. Help us to walk the walk that you would have us to walk. Lord, our giants are big. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, the pride of life. Lord, they're big. Help us to turn from those and keep our eyes on you. In Christ's name, amen. Thank you for being with me. See you in our next study.